Okay, who's first?
Go ahead, let Robert know.
Who's the time, and it's okay. Well, I said, I started with Jay.
Okay.
Okay. Jacobs,
Yes.
Glenn,
Yes.
Watts,
Yes.
Allen, yes, Johnson.
Yes. Adoption of the agenda?
Move to adopt. Jacobs,
Yes.
Glenn,
Yes.
Watts,
Yes.
Allen, yes, Johnson.
Yes. About presentation from JCEDC? I didn't think we were gonna go through that
I
fast.
know. This guy right here got us hooked up today, so I didn't chase after him. It's all good. I always have to go through and make sure I'm doing this right. Okay, good. Woo. So mayors and the members of council, I'd like to thank you for this opportunity to provide our 2018 JCEDC annual report. So we'll walk a little bit through the accomplishments for 2018, which you have a copy in your packet, hopefully, or your information in front of you tonight. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on the 2018 accomplishments. I'm going to race through those. So if you have a question, kind of keep those in mind when we get to that section, and then going to give us a chance to kind of look behind the curtain a little bit, and we're going to go to 2019 and talk about all the exciting things that we have planned for JCEDC. And this is the first group that's beyond the board that's going to get a chance to kind of see some of that in a package form. So hopefully you'll like what you see, but as always, if you have questions or concerns, I'm interested in hearing what those are, and then we'll take those back and address those. So, all right. So about us, a little bit about JCEDC for those that don't know who we are or what we do or why. We are a 501c3 nonprofit organization. We abide by sunshine laws, so all of our meetings are posted. They're posted in the media, they're posted on the board outside our door, so we welcome and encourage anyone who's interested in coming to our meetings, and really appreciate it when they do and provide input. We do, as a public benefiting organization under the 501c3 laws, we cannot have members, and so like a chamber of commerce, we can't have membership, and all of our investors are offered the opportunity for a 100% tax deduction contribution, although that might change this year. I don't know if anybody's had that meeting yet, but I'm kind of interested to see what my taxes do this year, but and how things might change. But it'll be all good. We do work from a data-driven, fact-based program of work each year that our board of directors does adopt each year, and then we set forth in a very organized, very purposeful fashion. We set to work with our task forces and all of our committees to try to get as much of that work plan done as we possibly can. We do serve all of Johnson County and its communities in terms of economic development in the broadest sense of the word, and then we collaborate and share resources with lots of other partners. We don't have enough resources ourselves to do what we need to do, and so we have to partner with local, regional, state, anyone that we can to try to further the mission of JCEDC and the work that we need to get accomplished. And we have many partners here in this room tonight, and I just want to stop and say thank you, not only to the mayor and city council, but also to the city staff. Without them, we would not be able to do the things that we do. They truly do support our organization in a way that we very much appreciate. So thank you. Our 2019 Board of Directors, for those that aren't familiar, we do have a 15-member Board of Directors, and Drew Lewis is the president. He couldn't be here this evening. He actually has a legislative visit as it relates to our Economic Coordinating Board work. And I'm sure you've been reading some of that in the newspaper, but Drew went to Jefferson City today to talk to our legislators about the 3 priorities that the Economic Coordinating Board has kind of set for themselves legislatively. So it's kind of exciting to see them pick from 17 or 27 or 30 plus priority items down to 3. And so Drew and Suzanne, and I didn't know if Casey was going to be able to make it or not, but
I made it, but Suzanne was ill, so
Oh.
it's just me and Drew.
yeah. Oh, good, good, excellent. Well, I'm glad that got to go without a hitch. Casey is on the board, and so is Harold, and so we want to thank them for their service too. They are representing the city of Warrensburg. The city of Warrensburg has 2 representative seats on the JCEDC board, as well as the county. So in 2018, the accomplishments included the completion of a major strategic planning project, and most of you are fairly aware of the 80 Advantage team and the work that was done all of last year. So basically, we spent a year looking forward beyond to 2021 in the plan for growth for Johnson County. Why did we embark on this? I get this question from time to time, and the question and the answer is fairly simple. It had been 10 years since we had done any strategic planning where we had a third party come in and assess what we were doing and how we might better what we were doing. And so I don't know if you've ever had anybody come in and do a third party assessment of your staff, your organization, your task forces, even talk to employers without you in the room to assess, are you doing a good job? Are you making headway? Are you being purposeful and impactful in what you're doing? But I can tell you it's a little bit nerve-wracking, and but very, very good. And so as we came out of that, there were many things that across the county that they looked at, from site prep to the product of Johnson County. They interviewed employers one-on-one. They talked to community leaders, and so at the end of the day, it was really time for us to have an assessment of what we needed to do to take the organization to the next level. We hadn't done that for a while, and so that was all good. The other item was that the timing couldn't have been better. We were kind of just coming off the Dollar Tree Distribution Center project, and I fondly refer to that life after Dollar Tree. We really were at a crossroads of how we were going to not only address labor issues or talent issues, but also a product issue, placemaking issues. And so when Janet came in and offered her assistance and her team's assistance through those deliverables, it was really invaluable. And so much of what you'll see later on in this presentation is as a result of that work. What were the deliverables on that product? Just to refresh everyone's memory, it was a targeted industry analysis, the talent assessment, organization, strategic plan, which included impact to goals assessments, which meant that you're prioritizing the most effective items that impacted directly the goals that you wanted to accomplish in sort of a matrix. And then also the implementation map, which you've heard some of the folks refer to as the 160 items list, which is fondly referred to as the oh my gosh list in our office as we try to move that implementation map into motion with regard to task forces and committees and other partnerships. So more to come on that. Business as usual, why we were doing the plan for growth. Obviously you have that in your packet tonight, but one of the things that I'd like to highlight is we added 5 additional investors last year, and it's always been our goal to add private investors. I think Harold said it earlier, and that is we have an expectation for this organization, but our funding doesn't quite meet that expectation, and that's kind of the same situation we have at JCEDC. And so we continue to try to build the investors as we do good things across the county. And so I think last year was really where we began to make some headway. Obviously, we're coming off the Dollar Tree Distribution Center project and the Break Time Convenience Center project, but hopefully those investors and that commitment to the organization will continue. I hope it doesn't wane. But basically that amounted to about $9,500 in new investment dollars for the year. For business retention, expansions, and recruitment, so just kind of highlight a few of those numbers since we really are numbers focused. And so the existing business development assistants we provided to 6 primary employers. And so when I say primary employers, those are the folks that are creating those primary jobs in across the county. Manufacturers, logistics, anyone that's creating a dollar that is for a product that's sold elsewhere and a dollar comes back here. So site selection services and existing business development assistants for 29 business owners. This was the largest number that we had since my time here. We'd always run in the 15, 16, 17, 18 range. And so that just shows that a lot of our small business owners are needing assistance. And so JCEDC has always provided that service in somewhat of a limited fashion. And then the micro loan program, we've lent 13 loans total, totaling $115,000, and we do still have funds available. So if you know small businesses that are needing some capital resources up to $10,000, send them our way. So we have some resources there for them. Also, on the recruitment side, we had 25 RFIs that were submitted to us. We were able to respond to one of these. It was actually turned out to be just a very specific site-specific Johnson County only project, so it really didn't go out to the rest of the state. And then we had 4 locally generated leads, 3 site visits, 2 leads are still active, actually at the time of this writing and even today. And then we had 1 business announcement, which was CK Enterprises over on the western side of the county. They are going to bring 74 jobs to the county and then grow that by 24. So that was a good project for us at the end of last year. Any questions on the accomplishments? Just a real quick reminder for the Dollar Tree project and an expression of appreciation on our part. I want to say thank you to all the people that pulled together and helped us put the Dollar Tree Distribution Center Training Center together. This was truly a community project from start to finish. Not only the Dollar Tree Distribution Center project, but also this training center. When we submitted our proposal originally to the Mullis team, JCEDC was responsible for setting up and putting together the training center that they would use until the facility was actually up and going. And so we pulled and borrowed furniture from all over the county, from churches, from banks, anywhere we could get. Holiday Trucking was nice enough to move all of the stuff for us and put it together, and for a very nominal fee. J.W. Franklin, because it was located over in Santa Fe, they changed like 60 light bulbs in the facility. They had to put in a new water line, and they had to put in a new air conditioner motor, and all kinds of these things that really wasn't included in the lease price. And at the end of the day, the state of Missouri, sort of like divine intervention, the state of Missouri stepped up with some new jobs training money and helped us pay for the lease that we were supposed to pay for. So, so everything just came together in a wonderful fashion. But again, I want to say thank you to the investors and the volunteers and partners for not only the Dollar Tree Distribution Center project, but also for the training center, because that was quite a feat to pull together. Okay, let's move on. Any other questions on that? If hearing none, I'll just keep trucking. Okay. So plan for growth, 2021. So moving forward, let's talk a little bit about the next steps for the plan for growth 2021. And priority number 1, this hasn't changed at all. This is fundamental economic development in its purest form. So support Johnson County's existing economic base in growth and expansion, and retention is sort of implied there, while targeting attraction efforts to drive diversification. And diversification is really the key word here, particularly for us, because we don't have a whole lot of diversification in our economy, as you probably know, and you've heard me talk about before. This won't change. We will continue to do the things that we need to do to meet this goal up until 2021. And I'll talk a little bit more about how we're going to do that later. I'm just going to run through the goals that have been set for us and the board. So if you see a star on a goal like this one, this is a little bit new for us, or it has a nuance that's a little bit different. And so this one is somewhat of a redefined goal because it implies a broader placemaking and partnerships aspect that we haven't really done in the past. So for those that can't read it, in the back of the room, it says foster placemaking efforts aimed at creating an inviting community, and that means community or county, that supports a greater population in migration and retention. So always before we had done placemaking in the sense that it was product improvement. So we were basically improving the product of Johnson County for the eyes of business. So that was really all we, as an organization, really was focused on, and that is if business thought it was good for the environment or a good business value proposition for them, we really cared about it. We really didn't focus too much on those value propositions for residents. And so what this means is, or what's implied by fostering this, is that JCEDC will need to partner with other organizations to help foster placemaking in Johnson County in the broadest sense. And so what sets this county apart from all other counties in terms of why someone would want to live here as a county? Not just Warrensburg, not just Holden, or not just Monmouthshire, but this whole region. Why would someone want to live there? So we're a little biased, right? We live here. We love it. But why would someone come here or stay here if they were new to the area? And so that's what placemaking is. It's quality of place and making sure you drive all initiatives towards that quality of place. Does that make sense? That's a little new for us, and this is the one that I kind of have to think about a little bit because it's outside the realm of our traditional economic development and what I've always done for 30 plus years. And so it's a new day, right, for all of us. So the next one, we have always, as I mentioned earlier, we have always focused on entrepreneurship and innovation, but this one is also a little broader in that we need to be supporting a culture of innovation and entrepreneurship, or partnering with other organizations that do support that economic, entrepreneurial, ecosystem, or ecosystem. So, so we'll be looking for partners in this realm as well, beyond just what we normally do with the microloan program, through our small business technical assistance, which is just one-on-one technical assistance that we provide for all of our small business clients. We have about 29 of those right now, all across the county, in all aspects of industry. So how we further that, I think we're going to be sure to partner a lot with the university. They're doing some innovative things, and so we've not done that before. So State Fair Community College and the Small Business and Technology Development Center has kind of always been our go-to for business planning assistance. But this is a lot broader aspect. And so to achieve this goal, we're going to reinvigorate or relaunch the old, formerly known as Innovation and Entrepreneurship Task Force, where we're going to rally everyone to the table to really embark on what we should be doing first, second, and third as it relates to this goal. So stay tuned, I guess, for more information on that. And then focus on supporting the talent pipeline. Also, this couldn't be more important. As we think about economic development today, if you don't have a good talent pipeline, you're probably not in the business of economic development very long. And so, as we think about focusing on supporting this talent pipeline, the first thing we have to do is identify what those gaps are in terms of the numbers. What are the facts? I mean, I think we all as employers and everyone that works in this field, we kind of have an idea about what those gaps are, but we need to have that a little bit more fact-based. What are the real facts as it relates to that talent pipeline? How are people moving through that pipeline? Do they come here for, I'm asking the question and I don't know the answers. Are they coming here for school and then leaving? Why do they leave? And so it's a lot of that analysis. And so we'll be doing some significant surveying in a very professional way on both the demand side, which would be the employer side, and the supply side, which would be the educator side, like an Air Force Base, the Warrensburg Area Career Center, anyone that's in the business of providing talent supply. We'll be surveying both of those, and those are very different surveys. And then we'll bring that data together and look at the gaps that have been identified as a result of that. So, lots of fun. So we've always done the fundamental economic development strategy of regional thinking and focusing on alignment and partnership building. Obviously, we couldn't do the things that we do without those partnerships, and so those are always key to the performance of economic development, successful economic development in any place, in my opinion. You have to look regionally. Any questions on the 5 goals?
Any venture capital playing in what you're doing?
So not specifically, but I certainly think that will be an outcome of the Innovation and Entrepreneurship Task Force. So anywhere from venture capitalists to angel investors to just where are those capital resources at, and inventorying those. So yeah, I hope to have some sort of access to either venture capitalists or angel investors in the city, or create our own here, or maybe look around us a little bit and see if there are any in any other places.
Sure.
That I hadn't thought about. So yeah, definitely.
Good.
In that survey, we just thought it was a survey of the employer, or we're surveying the instructor, or do we have a plan to survey the employee?
Well, I think we've already done that. That's a really good question. I think we've already done that through the, so these would be not employees looking for work. These would be employees looking for work, not employees that have found work and that have been working for some time. But we already do a survey where we identify available labor and what the aspects, all those aspects of what that available labor looks like. Anywhere from what are they willing to work for, what's the expectation for retirement, how long are they willing to drive to that job. I mean, all of those things we already have that data. And so it'll be interesting to lay that side by side with some of those other survey results that we get, and see where those might come together. I hadn't thought about that, but yeah.
I know, like when we went to Dallas, it was amazing how we graduated
Oh yeah.
from the university here.
Yeah.
And with all my wife's health problems and stuff, and happened to go to Kansas City and everything.
Yeah.
It's amazing how many nurses, and then I drive by our hospital, there's a big sign that says now hiring. I'm going, why can't we keep them?
Yep.
So.
Yeah. Placemaking. Yeah. 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 Thank you for that. I'll have to look at that. Any other questions on the 5 goals? I'm just going to move quickly to some of the implementation strategies real quick. Okay. So a lot of folks have asked about, on the recruitment side, business as usual, what do our new targets look like? So originally we had many targets. We had some of them the same as this: light manufacturing, advanced manufacturing, we had food processing, we had logistics, we had DoD-related contractors because of our proximity to Whiteman Air Force Base, and I think some of that's implied in the bottom, professional, scientific, and technical services. But So when we're aligning recruitment strategies, we're also, our targets, in terms of who are we gonna look at for recruitment possibilities, we're also aligning talent at the same time. So it's the coming together of what unique aspects you have in your talent pipeline, and then what unique opportunities are there for targeted industries. So you're doing a location quotient on this side. Is that business or industry growing? Is it a good fit for your region? You know, things like that. And then on the talent side, you're looking at what do those skill sets look like in your available talent pipeline. And then, or are there existing manufacturers where employees may come and go out of those industries? For example, the computer and electronic component manufacturing. We have quite a cluster of those here, and so you have employers who are training those folks in that talent or that skill, and so as a result, you have that talent cluster in this pipeline. Does that make sense? So our talent, or excuse me, our targeted industries moving forward will be beverage and food manufacturing or production. And then within those core subsectors, we have animal production and processing, food processing as the two key components. And what that shows us is those have not only have a good fit for this area, but also have a unique growth trajectory in that industry right now. And so it's growing industry-wide, and it's also a good fit. No surprises, I hope, on the professional and scientific technical services. It's not just for Warrensburg, by the way, it's for all of Johnson County. So with all the things going on in the university, particularly as it relates to cybersecurity, we have a talent pipeline here that could be a great advantage with regard to recruitment on those particular businesses. And then this is how our tasks and task forces will become aligned with the new goals. So you have a whole new set of tasks and task forces, keeping some of them the same. Just to highlight a few, infrastructure and development task force, we already have a certified site, which is really a product development subcommittee. And then we're going to add a broadband committee for all of Johnson County, which will be very much needed. Business visit team will stay virtually the same. Incentives committee will stay virtually the same. Microloan committee will stay the same. We are adding a talent supply task force, an employers talent task force, an innovation and entrepreneurship task force, which is just a relaunch of the old one, and then a little bit down the way, a housing task force, which goes back to the placemaking goal. Aligning staff, growing and adding capacity. So Amy Cordaway, thankfully, is going to move up to the business and talent development coordinator. Right now she's our communications coordinator, and she's going to be attending a lot of training this year to get her moving towards her economic development certificate and any other accreditation that she might want to get in the economic development field, and we're very thrilled about that. And then we'll be adding a part-time marketing coordinator, and that job description is going to go out on our website either tomorrow afternoon or the day after that. So you'll be able to go to our website, and we'll send it out to lots of other places, but that marketing coordinator will be about 20 hours a week of time, and provide a lot of our marketing efforts, as well as our available building and site database that's on our website. We need to be able to keep that up. So all the realtors in the room, you're going to have a new face. You're going to have a new face, hopefully. That's going to be taking down the information about our available sites and buildings and these spaces. Okay, I covered a lot, and I apologize. So questions? Thank you again. I appreciate your time and your interest and your support. We very, very, very much appreciate all the work that this group does, and would not be here without you. So if you have questions, you get back to the office or back home and you have a question, please feel free to reach out to me. I'm always available. So I'm usually right upstairs on the 3rd floor of the courthouse night and day. So Feel free to give me a call or send me an email. All right, thank you, thanks.
Okay, next we have an ordinance establishing the canvass of city council candidates presented, oh, I'm sorry. presented by city.
No, right. Oh, do you want to read the ordinance for the first time? Yeah, me too. I will do that too.
Is it this one? Like ordinance number? Or is it not in this one?
This is for the filing period, which ended January the 15th. We did have 3 individuals file for city council. They all happen to be in the audience: Nolan Brooks, Charles Bentley, and Scott Holmes back around the back row. In order for that to be official, I had to submit these documents to the county clerk, which has been done. And what we need to pass tonight is an ordinance declaring the results of a canvass of statement of candidacy and establishing a general election to be held on April the 2nd, 2019. At that time, we will choose from these 2 individuals, and they will be elected to begin serving on the council. I believe it's like that. It'll be the next Monday night, so it'll be about the 7th or 8th of April. And in order to do that, though, I need to have this ordinance passed, so I need a motion to bring it to second reading.
This is the only move to second reading by title.
Jacobs?
Yes.
Lund?
Yes.
Watts?
Yes.
Allen?
Yes.
Johnston.
Yes.
This is an ordinance declaring the results of a canvass of statements of candidacy and establishing a general election to be held on April 2nd, 2019. This is for adoption or rejection. Jacobs?
Yes.
Lund?
Yes.
Watts?
Yes.
Allen?
Yes.
Johnston.
Yes.
Do they have any questions? We do have 2 people.
Good luck, you 3.
And we will miss our 2, but we have a few more months left of them, Danielle and Bob.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, next we have an ordinance amending section 28-2, definitions of the code of ordinances of the city of Warrensburg.
Madam Mayor, members of the City Council, what you have before you is an update to the Code of Ordinances regarding the definition of smoking. Currently within the code, smoking is defined as smoking of tobacco products only. What this update will do is include the combustion or vaporization of any plant material or organic compound. Staff has worked with the City Council to refresh this ordinance. Are there any questions regarding any of the wording or why it was done?
So this will eliminate vaping cigarettes.
Yes, this will, well, they won't eliminate anything. This will just include all of those types of things into the definition.
So you can't smoke in the building. You can't vape in a building.
Well, there's certain, I don't know, different things that you have to meet to smoke in a building. Like it has to be a standalone building, or it has to have, if it's not a freestanding building, it has to have a separate HVAC unit, is that correct? Separate HVAC unit in the area that smoking is permitted. So, I mean, it's still allowed.
So pretty much any building in Warrensburg.
It's the same restrictions on location as have existed previously.
Right.
So
Yes.
any enclosed place of entertainment or employment would be covered unless it was one of the exceptions of being a private club or a business whose primary retail purpose was sale of those products.
I move that bill be passed second reading by title.
Jacobs?
Yes.
Lund?
Yes.
Excuse me, Watts?
Yes.
Allen?
Yes.
Johnston.
Yes.
This is an ordinance amending section 28-2, definitions of the code of ordinances of the city of Warrensburg. This is for adoption or rejection. Jacobs?
Yes.
Lund?
Yes.
Watts?
Yes.
Allen?
Yes.
Johnston.
Yes. Okay, next we have the 2020 census update.
I can bring up the PowerPoint here. This is a, so this is our introduction to the census that will take us slightly over the next year, but it will be almost a little over 2 years before we will see the product, the end result of this project. So, doing a census every 10 years is required by the United States Constitution, wherein it requires that they do a count of everyone residing in the U.S. There are some other counts, particularly the American Community Survey, if you have a reason to write a lot of grants or you need a lot of population statistics and data figures. You might see that thrown around. The Census Bureau also conducts that. That is a monthly effort, and you get a rolling 5-year set of numbers. That is based on a sample population of Warrensburg, of Johnson County, of the United States. And so those numbers are extrapolated based off a sample. This is an effort to count everyone. So there used to be long form and short form, and that went away after the 2000 census. And in 2010, there was just one form, and again, this time there will be just one form. And it will be a fairly short form. So all the long form information comes in that rolling 5-year census based on a sample called the American Community Survey. So this is the big one that happens every 10 years, and Census Day is April 1st, 2020. There are a lot of impacts on Warrensburg and your local programs, whether that is recruiting new businesses, the work that Tracy does, the work that Main Street does, the work that the city does with Retail Coach or developers or landlords, anyone trying to fill spaces and recruit and retain. It makes a big difference in that, as well as many, many federal and state programs that affect all different organizations, school districts, hospitals, pathways, you name it, here in the city. I didn't want to, I don't have a 2020 list yet. The materials coming out of the Census Bureau haven't received anything like this yet. But this is a list that they provided in 2010 of the many, many different formula grants that use population data in order to justify level of funding or investment in our local communities. And the population data, it may be sold and repackaged by other entities like Claritas or Esri. You might see it on websites, repackaged. It all comes from the Census Bureau. The only outfit in the United States making any effort to go count people where they live the majority of the year is the Census Bureau. And they will tweak that and repackage it, but it's all coming out of this effort every 10 years. So I won't read these to you, but if you are interested, I think that there could be some slight changes in the last 10 years, but on the whole, these are going to be very similar uses of the data again this time around. This is the schedule that the Census Bureau puts out. We are a little bit into it already. Here, you're in early 2019 here with the Complete Count Committee. Some of the work your staff has done in the background last year in the fall, we did the local update of census addresses where we cross-referenced new construction and new addresses in our system here at the local level with the addresses that they have in their system. So they will begin field address canvassing. You can see that on there. In August 2019, that's when they start fact checking what we've turned into them in the field. And then also right now, and we do this every January, but we will again do that this January so it can be used in the next round of the census. We turn in our boundary and annexation survey. So all the annexations you did last year will show up in our new city limits in the census maps when they are released in 2020 or 2021. Other activities that will take place this year that we're going to talk about are the Complete Count Committee, the group quarters. That is how your nursing homes, the hospital, homeless shelters, the jail, things like that. That is how they get counted, is through the group quarters. And so we will turn in a list of addresses that have group quarters or verify with what they've already pulled together. And then starting next March, you will get that form, and it's time to fill it out and turn it in. So we will do some campaigning in January, February, and March. We're going to talk about that in a minute. But that will be our local campaign to encourage people to turn those forms in. You have until April, it's where you are on April 1. Forms that are not turned in by the end of, I believe the end of April. What does it say, non-response? Yeah, late April. So starting in late April going through August, that is when they come around and knock on the doors if they haven't got a form back for that address. The numbers are due to the president for reapportionment on December 30th, 31st of 2020, to the states for the state level districting on March 31st of 2021. And normally we get our city of Warrensburg number in, I would say, May of that year. So it will be an entire year later, or I would anticipate getting that around May of 2021. So their Complete Count Committee and their partnership program is an effort to use local partners to increase participation by making sure that groups of people that typically go uncounted or undercounted are counted, that we do not miss large groups of people. They want to work with these types of county government, state government, cities, community organizations, faith-based organizations, schools, nonprofits, businesses, local media, anyone that can help us spread the word of who counts here. It's where you live majority of the year. So if you have a house here and a house in Arizona, then you need to count, turn your form in where you live 6 months and 1 day out of the year. If you are a university student, you count here in Warrensburg because you live in Warrensburg a majority of the months out of the year, regardless of whether or not your parents claim you as a dependent on their taxes or where you list your permanent residence with the university. You count for your census here. So your parents don't turn you in Lee Summit, you fill it out here. Military, regardless of where your I think it's base of permanent residence. What do they call it? Your
Home of record.
home of record. That may be another state, that may be another city. But if you are stationed at Whiteman and you are living in Whiteman the majority of the year, you turn your form in Warrensburg or Non-Noster or wherever your local home is. So that is a message that we work really hard to get out there locally. Who we want on a committee here in Warrensburg would be those same types of organizations. Hard to reach people historically have been veterans, people with disabilities, farm workers, homeless, renters, college students, immigrants or minorities, snowbirds, senior citizens, language constrained, children under 5, and people living in poverty. So homeless, college students, renters, veterans, or active duty, I would go so far as to say here, those are our biggest hard to count accurately populations. In Warrensburg in 2010, we had a committee. This is who was on that committee at that time. I think that's a good starting point for a committee this time around, but I think you could certainly expand that. Their efforts in that go-around were to create a special brand for the Warrensburg message, which was that you count here. We tied in our imagery, our branding, and our colors with the federal campaign because they do a lot of ad buys and media buys and promotions, and we wanted people to connect the two. We had billboards here in town. We did the standard social media was just taking off then, so we did have a Facebook page, but no Twitter or anything like that. We had coasters made that we put in the bars and restaurants, which were that image right there. Table tents, and we did a lot of presentations. Again, that can be a starting point for this go round, but obviously it'll look a little different, should look a little different this time. In terms of how did we do for a response, this is a map that the Census Bureau puts out of their mail participation rates. So in 2010, you had to mail in a form. And if you lived in a residence hall on campus, you had to mail in a form. UCM does not get to turn in a number and say, we had this many housing contracts, we had this many students living on campus, we had this many students enrolled, and this many on campus, and this many in apartments in town. They have that information as far as where their students are living, obviously, but because of, and I'm not gonna be able to tell you what it stands for, but FERPA, not right, yeah. They can't share that with the Census Bureau. And the Census Bureau wouldn't take it if they could, because the Census Bureau likes to, or is very concerned about confidentiality, so they won't share their data like that in a specifically individually identifiable way. So you do have to mail in your form in 2010. I'm being told in 2020, and we will see how that looks because there's not much information forthcoming yet, that there will be some electronic participation, that you will be able to fill out your form electronically somehow. I have no idea how that works yet. But this is the map. We're going to drill down to Warrensburg of how well forms were submitted and turned in last time. So they know they sent, let's say, 10,000 forms to the city of Warrensburg, and they got 7,400 back. The darker the color, the higher the percentage turned back in. So when you look at this map, and this slide and the next slide are showing the same census tract. I show you this one because I want you to see that this kind of donut shape here, excluding the center, this donut shape in this slightly darker color is the census tract. And there, and this northern line, you know, if I can keep this close, this line right here is Highway 50. And you're going to see that in a second. So for the city of Warrensburg, north of Highway 50 is in this donut shape that includes a lot of the rest of Johnson County around the city limits in all directions. Here's your response rate in 2000 for that census tract was 72%, and in 2010 was 80%. I zoomed in on the northern part so you could see there how much of north of Highway 50 is in this census tract. And now that you've added, since Cahill was coming online in 2010, you had the first project phase done, but not much past phase 1. So you will have a lot more houses now inside the city limits in this census tract. They're not going to redraw the tracts to show that, because then you lose the ability to compare this census tract to historical data. If we redraw it for 2020, then we can't say statistically median age by census tract for the last 50 years. So they won't redraw that, but in terms of where they are addressed, that address will appear inside the city limit maps. They will be in our boundary when you see our place data, our city data. The other 3 tracts in Warrensburg, there's this northwest tract here on this area here, and that is the railroad tract, splitting that on the south side. In 2000, we had a 70% return rate there, and in 2010, we had a 73% return rate. This tract here, this southwest area, that is by and large the university. This is where your residence halls almost all fall. You can see that it splits Highway 50, or Highway 30, no, went too far. Highway 13, they reach across it to grab the other side of campus so they keep it all in one census tract. That is our lowest return rate here in the city. It did improve in 2010, but it's not as high as the rest of the city. And then this is a very large tract for us. It's almost all of the east side of town. And they tend to have our highest response rate. In 2000 it was 79%, 2010 it's 76%. These maps are available online if you want to see more of Johnson County or the base or other areas. So next steps for the city itself is to establish our complete count committee. We want to be doing that starting now, and then having them start meet early in June so we can figure out what our campaign, our publicity campaign is going to be, and then do those ad buys this fall, design and order those materials, and be ready to go on the street with that campaign starting in January. January, February, and March is really when we want to peak with that, so that people, I've had one person who already asked me, well, I thought that was over, when do we get the numbers? I'm like, oh no, we got like 15 months before we count. So just talking about it too early can be self-defeating, but it's time now to start talking about it, get all of this behind-the-scenes work ready so that we peak in January. So that has a budget impact on us, as well as soliciting partners and them hopefully helping with the budget on that. Your budget last time around was a little over, with in-kind and everything, was around 14,000. Actual cash layout was closer to, I'd say, 9,000 to 10,000. Back then, the census did have a grant program. We were able to get, I think, around $3,000 to help offset that. I have no idea if there'll be money for something like that yet at this time around. I haven't heard anything. Any questions?
Thank you. Next, we have the INFRA. I'm going to try to say that acronym. Grant discussion.
Madam Mayor, members of the City Council, U.S. Department of Transportation recently announced their second round of infrastructure for rebuilding America discretionary grant program. This is an INFRA grant. The program has approximately between $855 and $902.5 million available for infrastructure projects. Staff became interested when we heard about it a few weeks back. The program is developed where they have both large projects and small projects. The large projects have to be in excess of 25 or at least 25 million. Small projects, grants have to be at least 5 million. So staff took the time to consult HDR for their expertise, because they worked with us with the interchange project and the initial design concept of that, looking for funding mechanisms for that project. We sought the input from Corey Eimhoff and Dustin Elliott with HDR. They took it to their staff internally and then their national team and discussed the ability to possibly us make an application for that grant at this time. They felt that the project had good merits, had for operational benefits, safety benefits, for consistency in our long-range planning, our cost plan, nodal connectivity, which we've discussed, the sidewalks in that area, and the concept plan are completed and ready to move to final design fairly quickly. With the middle of this grant has to be in by March, which is a really short timeline on it. But most notably is the fact that last year, most of the grants that were submitted, those communities were able to leverage 40% of the cost versus what the state is a 20% match. on that. So those that were able, those communities, projects that were able to leverage a higher percentage, were those that were, basically, given the opportunity to participate in this grant program. So, in discussion, they, ACR felt that, it'd probably be a situation where the city needs to look forward to, applying next year, but also look forward to trying to come up with ways of being able to, develop that 40%, for that project. So, in their opinion is, we're on track with trying to go this direction for application, but, we need to do a few things in this next year to make sure that we're competitive to be able to make a good qualified application without wasting dollars and making an application we know possibly won't go on. And I believe Harold's been involved with this also. He might have some other things to add to that.
Just that, we want to have an opportunity to have a conversation with council. We've talked about this for the last couple of years through the budget process with the McGuire Bridge being a high priority and probably our most important infrastructure project that we have going forward. It has been identified in our local TAC and RPTC and et cetera of regionally as one of the most important infrastructure projects in the region as well, which then makes it eligible for federal funding. Also will assist hopefully with MoDOT supporting this project. The federal funds, usually you need a recommendation from MoDOT that is on their priority list, et cetera, et cetera. So we have all those pieces in place. So this time we just wanted to have a conversation with council as far as with the March deadline. Do you want us to go ahead and try and put an application forward this year, or do you want us to wait till next year? If you remember, several years ago, there used to be a grant process called the Tiger Grant. This is the reincarnation of the Tiger Grant. The Infra Grant is the Tiger Grant of 2019. So it's a very lengthy process. There's some expense to it, et cetera, in order to do it. And ultimately, when it comes to even though it's an 80-20 grant, as Slim said, the recipients of this grant are putting in much more than a 20% match. They're putting in a 40% match. And so that's where we need direction as well, where you come up with that money. I think in the memo it states that right now I think we estimate the project to be a $15 million project. So we need, 40% of it is $6 million. We're going to come up with $6 million to do that. Because when we apply to the grant, the federal government, we have that money secured, and that we're not just theoretically speaking about it, because they don't want to obligate the money to us, and then we can't deliver, and some other community misses out on using that funding that year. So, and basically what this does is this pushes the need of how far do we go. If we're going to commit this year, we don't have that $6 million identified. Next year, we haven't discussed yet because we haven't started the budget process, but where the council is on wanting to put a ballot measure on the ballot for that and asking for that 40% match locally on that. So anyway, we just wanted to bring this forward, have discussion, get some direction from you, whether you have a strong opinion, whether we go ahead and try to apply for it this year, or whether we wait until next year and hopefully have an issue on the ballot and have a stronger application for next year.
Unless there's something that I'm missing, I don't think we have some magic wand out there that's going to find $6 million by March. So I think we're pretty much the answer is wait till next year. I guess the question is that it sounds like this deadline was March, so make the assumption that next year's deadline will be March also. When they consider a ballot measure is going on the ballot in April, satisfaction of being able to have the 40% assuming it's approved. Are we really looking 2 years down the road because we got to get the ballot measure approved before we can even
do a special election, you put on the ballot in November.
Okay, and you need to consult with your bond council as well,
Yeah.
because there's different majorities that are required depending on your election day.
Our point is timing wise, when do we all put this application in? Because staff needs to start budgeting for engineering, we need to start budgeting for when and how and if we're putting this on the ballot, those are all things that we need to consider in this budget process going forward. And so we just need an idea from council, what do you want us to do? I mean, if you're an automatic, we're not putting it on the ballot in the spring, then we don't need to worry about this because we're not gonna be able to make a match.
Yeah, I mean, I guess the other question is that, you know, that bill that got up there in Jefferson City to be 50%, to pass, the 50% of the voters have to show up. Does anybody know that thing really got any legs?
Let's hope not.
Yeah. That's wrong at too, but doesn't, you know.
When are we, eligible to look at refinancing on our, current debt?
Depends on what debt you're talking about. You know,
The bond issue.
The last, road funding that we did with, for Veterans Road and the, signal improvements.
Right.
I believe we did that with a 5-year loan, so that would be expiring in 2020, if I remember correctly.
5 years.
But the refi, when are we eligible to look at refinance?
We'll be able to look at it a little bit over a year before the deadline.
Right.
Because it'll need to go to a public again. Basically the refresh, and what we would do is, we would go to extend that same dollar amount. At this time, it doesn't look like we would add any money to it.
Right.
But we would be able to take it out 20 years, and you would get a lot more money for the same amount that we have currently.
And that happens 1 year before, so it'd be 19.
Yeah, a little bit before. We would have to make a decision coming up this year.
Okay.
If that's what we're gonna do.
That could be an option for, you guys to consider.
Well, look at you go out there.
Yeah.
Pay for it. More than $1,000 a year now. We got our front man for the project.
There you go.
I mean, in my opinion, you know, for a community our size, a $15 million project is a pretty significant undertaking.
Yeah.
So if we can get federal funding to help lessen that, I mean, our community contributes to those federal taxes that are paying for these projects across the nation. We ought to try and get some of that from our taxpayers who will contribute to that.
I don't think the project ever happens unless we get federal funding.
Yeah. MoDOT's piece of it right now, they committed to $1 million. Is that correct?
Verbally, they committed to $1 million.
Right.
I'll have to go back and revisit and see if
But
that's
their
still on
piece,
there.
that may be negotiable.
That could be $1 million of the $6 million local match. We'll have to talk and research that and figure that out. And reconfirm that MoDOT's gonna stand to that commitment.
Yeah.
So it sounds like we're gonna wait till next year, but council would like staff to continue trying to move this forward in the best positive way we can. So we'll take that under advisement as we look at budgeting this year and where we need to put money. That's it. Try to have a successful application for next year.
I think, just for information, last time I was looking at the Tiger Grant, time we had our, engineering firm, worked that together, about $30,000 invested in doing that, so it's not, make applications, not just filling out paperwork, it's
Right.
a lot involved.
Right.
Thank you.
Thank you. We have a resolution of the City of Warrensburg, Missouri regarding qualifications of vendors providing towing services in the City of Warrensburg, Missouri.
Madam Mayor and members of the City Council, there is a reason for cleaning out your desk drawer, and this is it. I was cleaning out some desk drawers and found a 15-year-old resolution for tow services in Warrensburg. Those of you who are business owners, I don't think have gone 15 years without updating a crisis. So we convened a meeting with our 4 vendors for tow service, and sat down and went over the pricing first. That's the most significant change to it. There were some other changes as well. We expected them to respond to a call within 20 minutes of the phone call, which in the middle of the night is a little bit difficult to do. And so we've extended that to 30 minutes from 20 minutes, which is still a reasonable time. We don't want an officer sitting out there for a long time waiting on a tow truck. Prices there, the old prices are in red for you in the council letter, and I'm happy to answer any questions that you all may have.
just want to state for the record of the public, this isn't revenue to the city. This is actually setting the fee that the tow operators are able to charge when they respond to these calls. So this money goes directly to the operator, not to the city. So we don't benefit financially from this. We're just trying to make sure that these tow companies are being compensated fairly for the work they're doing.
The other thing it does is it protects the consumer from being overcharged. Most of these fees were drawn up years ago when some tow companies were notorious for overcharging people for difficult tows and things like that. This is a way to ensure that there's not any price gouging with our tow companies, and a way to maintain some type of a structure that creates a fair business dynamic between the operator and the customer.
But this isn't a bill the city's paying, this is a
No,
bill.
this is a business agreement between the tow company and the owner or operator of the vehicle. We have nothing to say with it.
So if our police department shows up to an accident, we determine that those vehicles need to be towed from the premises.
Right.
We contact the tow company. Correct. The company comes in, these are the fees they charge. So the citizen isn't locked into, oh, I got a $250 tow bill and I didn't authorize that tow. The police department called it, you need to pay for it. No, we protect the consumer by doing this, by locking the rates in on what the tow companies will charge in those situations.
And these are for non-preference tows. So if you get to a scene and you say, I'd like to have Joe's tow my car, we call Joe's Towing, they come to the scene and they tow it. This is for people who don't have a towing company in mind, and or for arrests or for illegally parked vehicles, those kinds of situations. It's called a non-preference tow. So if you are in an accident, you say I don't have a tow preference, there's a 1-week rotation. So each company's on call for non-preference tows for a week at a time, and they come 24/7 and respond to the scenes and tow the vehicle for that person.
Does this establish recourse in case somebody is overcharged?
Yes, that anyone would be able to register a complaint with the department, and after investigation, if there's a determination that unfair business practices have been used, they can be disqualified from this list.
Okay. And use this ordinance as the.
That's right.
Yeah, so we added some language in there as well to ensure that there is an appeal process. The old resolution, it wasn't clear. There was actually 2 different documents. One was a resolution that you all passed. The other one was a document that was given to the tow operators when they signed up to be part of this program. Those have all been combined into one, so now there's a process in place where if there's a complaint registered with me, I investigate it, and they can be disqualified based on a violation of the resolution.
Yeah. Just to move to approve.
Jacobs?
Yes.
Lund?
Yes.
Watts?
Yes.
Allen?
Yes.
Johnston?
Yes. Appearances to the council not listed on the agenda.
You don't have anyone to say that.
Thank you.
Looking at the crowd.
Mayoral appointments, I do not have any for tonight. So next we have miscellaneous matters from the mayor and or city council. Nothing miscellaneous? All right. City managers report.
I don't think I have anything to report that's not already outlined in the memo. So I don't have anything to report, and I have no need for a closed session at tonight's meeting either.
Okay. Matthew, let's follow up that good news.
Sure. We'll have the audit report, hopefully end of February. It might be the first, meeting in May. We're getting ready to start budget again. Seems like we're always doing budget, but, it's getting to be that time. And then also on the package, you have the first quarter numbers. Revenue is up a little bit, a couple $1,000. And expenses are down, which usually happens around this time of year. We usually spend most of our money in the third and fourth quarters. So.
Thank you.
I would just say, for the public, that we are currently signing up restaurants for Restaurant Week. So, soon, it will be Restaurant Week, March 1st through 10th, but right now we need restaurants to participate. And if you are interested in registering to participate, It's a lunch and dinner special, very similar to other years. You can contact either Amber at the Main Street office or Suzanne with the Chamber office, or I can get you a registration packet as well. But we're hoping to get, usually have about 20 restaurants participate, so it's that time. That's all.
Thank you.
I've got multiple things to tell you, so. Recently, we have a lot of people that do genealogy research through the cemetery, and they call and they come out and everything. But recently, I had a lady from Oklahoma that came up to spend 3 days on and off at the Sunset Hill Cemetery, and she commented that she goes to other cemeteries and staff doesn't have time, or is not very nice and those type of things. But to credit Glenn Kahn that works out there, he spent a little time with him, went on about his duties when she had questions. Finished up, but whenever she left, she handed him a check for $500 for donation to the cemetery, and she said, because I appreciate the service that you've done for me. So I wanted to mention that tonight. I thought it spoke well of our operations out there. We've got several things that's going to take place here in the next few months. Fire Gas Company is looking to replace about all the steel lines they have in the community, so there's going to be a lot of digging and tearing up. Have y'all been in the Windsor area? You see how much work they did out there. So we've got a meeting this week to kind of get a determination what areas they're going to start in first and what it's going to involve. We're also, water company is preparing to replace the water main on K Street from Clark to Holden, and also from North Street to K on College Street. So that'll be a project that will take place here starting this spring. Our roundabout project is going to get opening February 4th next week. We're opening up our sewer manhole lining project bids this Thursday. We're going to $1,100,000 worth of sewer lines being lined and manhole being repaired. So, very good project. We're, you always wonder what we're doing this time of year. We're putting bids together. We're putting our mowing bids out for the cemetery and city property. Right now, the cleanup bid. Spring cleanup will be April 29th and May 6th. Your all's information. And we're currently working on street maintenance and curb and sidewalk programs to get that out. So we'll get some early and good bids on that. I plan on in February giving a presentation to the city council on our street maintenance.
All right, thank you. Anybody else? Marcy?
Nothing additional.
Yeah, nothing additional.
We open up bids Friday for body cameras and dash cam video, so thank you guys for that. We're excited about that program. Should be sometime around the first part of April when you'll start seeing them out there. We've got a testing period we're going to go through. So at 2 o'clock on Friday, if you got nothing to do, come on by. See where we are.
Thank you.
The Municipal League has taken the council's ordinance, the zoning ordinance that was passed at the last meeting, as a resource for other communities. So
I was contacted by Grandview.
Special,
Word was out.
special thanks to the staff for being out in front of that process and providing some leadership in the state.
Yep.
Brian, nothing additional? All right, and no please.
I want to be sure you also my note about the spring sales tax holiday that the city decided in 2015 to participate in it, and we participated in it every year until we decide not to. So I want to be sure you all are.
We'll send the council back to the city manager report. It's one of the attachments there.
They didn't get in this property.
Thank you.
I do.